No? Yes?
Yes.
Great, we got it. Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Laura, for the introduction. And my job, as I see it here today, is to help us define the context of what is zero carbon. What is it that we're talking about here today, in general in the conference, but specifically in our session. And yes, many people in the room probably do already know what zero carbon means, but I found it useful over time to think about the definition I would have liked to have had when I heard what zero carbon was for the first time, and I didn't understand it. So I think it's worth going through this journey to make sure that we're all on the same page. And for those that do know, and I've been working in this for a while, just bear with me. I'll also share a little bit about what that means for Alpha, and then we'll hear from our incredible speakers in our session today. So first of all, what is carbon? We have to start with the word that we're talking about. And carbon is normally it's a gas. It's made up of carbon and oxygen. But I want to take more in our context today to look at it as a unit, a common language, so that when we are working on getting to zero carbon, we can actually measure our impact of our activities and use the same language to communicate. That first step of being all on the same page of where we're at will help us with where we need to go. So the unit that we've been using now in the industry is this unit called carbon. And we look at first at our total impact. We sum up the impact of all these activities. What is our carbon footprint, as we call it? And when we assess what our production is, we can then, on the other side of the equation, look at what we can remove from the atmosphere. And when someone takes the boundaries of their impact and then in turn invests in carbon removal from the atmosphere that is equal to their footprint and their production, that basically is what gets us to zero. And that's what we mean when we say zero carbon. Maybe one day WSP will come up with a tool that we can, design buildings to be negative carbon when we start, but we're not there yet. We're getting there, as he said, and we know that removal is important in this kind of zero picture. And it's not for everyone, but if someone says zero carbon, this should be what they're talking about, and this should be what we should challenge them to understand and share with us. So how do we address that? Now that we all know what carbon is and we know what our impact is, we have a tool in the industry which we call a decarbonization plan. And the first step in that plan is to measure and benchmark. So like I said, we have to have this unit of where we're at in order so we know where we're going. But a tool that I would like to see more in the industry in Israel, and it's starting to be more used in the industry globally, is benchmarking. As we can say, we can learn from each other, and that's what this session is all about, those collaborations. So we can say, okay, how is my building performing compared to other buildings maybe within my portfolio, compared to other buildings that are similar in Israel locally, other buildings globally that are in similar climates, and then we start to have an action plan of saying, okay, this building is actually performing really well. What lessons can I learn from this building that I can apply to others? Or this one's performing extremely poorly. I thought it would be, performing well. And then we can start to actually address what we're doing. So the measurement and benchmark is not a step to be taken for granted. It's extremely important and extremely difficult. It's something that we really, as an industry, I think, need to get better at and have where to go. And then the next step, we're a bit stronger on already, is looking at potential implementations, especially on the design side. Here in Israel, we've got a lot of great work in looking at that. In operation, we're getting better, and we're starting to look more at it. That's kind of what the other session will be focusing on in the other room. And retrofit opportunities, not necessarily looking at just design and just operations, but how can we actually invest in our existing buildings, potentially improving them so that they get to those points. It's not, part of it is being operating them better with the tools that we have, but sometimes we can upgrade them, and I think there's a lot of potential there. So once we have those implementations and we've quantified them, we look into our projection and a plan. We say, okay, once I implement this is what it will look like. This is how it'll affect my carbon footprint. And we plan and we implement that plan, and we measure that plan as we go. Sometimes we might need to change that plan if things change along the way, and that's okay. But we build ourselves tools going forward. That's something that Azrieli will share a bit about today, what they did in their organization to create those internal tools and how they've used them. And then, like I said, offset is an option. If getting to zero carbon is something you want to do, then you must look at this offset component. But it's really important to look at the others first and foremost. Obviously, the measurement in order to do the offsets is necessary, but we want to be as efficient as we can and then look to offsets. Not last resort maybe isn't the best terminology, but as the last tool we have in our toolbox. And then finally, do it all over again. The process doesn't end. It's ongoing. It's something that needs to be maintained and used effectively over time. And so we continue that measurement, we continue that benchmarking, and then we look at our KPIs and our progress and see where we're going. And this altogether is this decarbonization plan that many of you have heard us ask to meet you about and don't know what we're talking about, so now you do. And I hope today through the session you'll kind of see a few examples of what that looks like in practice. And the first example I want to share is Alpha's example. It's something that we decided in 2023 when we moved into our new campus, which is in Kvarvitkin. All are welcome to come for a coffee and see what we've done there. Really special place to work. And we took an existing hangar, which turned into a store, and we renovated a bit to our needs to be an office. And it was important to us to, we're learning about carbon and we're hearing from it around the world. We care about the environment and want to reduce our impact, but also want to learn what's right for our clients. We want to say, okay, what are the tools available in the market? How do they actually work? So we can then apply them to our clients. So we said, okay, for this process, we want to look at the Living Future Institute Zero Carbon Certification, which is the same one that Give a Time just achieved. And here we were able to learn a lot about how they kind of measure and set the boundaries and their thresholds. They have really high thresholds in terms of what is a zero carbon renovation and project. So that was very insightful, and we were able to do that for our campus. And the second tool that we used is Global Network for Zero. Global Network for Zero is all about celebrating the milestones along the way of saying, okay, if you've measured, if you've created that net zero carbon plan, not every organization is going to be able to achieve zero. Our impact is quite small at Alpha, so it's something that's more it's not always scalable, at the scale of some of the organizations here, but it gives you those tools along the way and has that third-party auditing so that you know that what you're doing is reviewed, it's been looked at by someone else and confirmed that it meets international GHG protocols. So again, there the focus was more on us as an organization and less as a campus, but both of them had value and allowed us to measure and reduce our impact. And now we have data, basically comparing to 2023 to 2024. We were actually able to see a large reduction in our carbon emissions, mostly around operating our campus and electricity use, but also in changing a few old employee cars that we had to electric and hybrid cars. So through that, the scale here is, again, small if you're looking at the total numbers, but we're very proud to see this improvement and that we're able to go from not being net zero energy to being net zero energy in 2024. So this just shows the value in understanding and learning, and this process is ongoing. We don't just look at it at the end of the year. We have a few dashboards and tools in our office that we use to track this progress over time. We can see errors, like we have a dashboard showing us our solar production. That seems like something that, why would you need to see that on the daily? It's not, you can look at it at the end of the year and see what you produced and that's it. But because we walk by it every morning when we're getting our coffee, we could see if one of the panels, we have the solar edge on our solar PV farm, so if one panel isn't working, we didn't lose the whole system, but we can call a technician immediately to fix that panel and see what's going on so we won't lose out on that production, rather than maybe having the yearly visit the technician will do and then find 3-4 panels that aren't working. So visualization of that data over time, we found a really valuable tool in this process. So that's just a bit of lessons learned from Alpha, and the point here today is to learn and hear from each other. So enjoy the rest of the conference, and I'm around if anyone wants to chat about this or have any ideas for the next one, and thank you very much.